at the Cadence Bank Arena and Conference Center for the Megapop Digital Innovation Conference. Kicking off Hour 3, the afternoon portion of the program now, with John McDermott, the Director of Esports Programs and the Provost Vice Chancellor for Academic Affairs at the University of Mississippi. John, thanks for coming on.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. It's a privilege to be here on SuperTalk, and it's a privilege to be out here in Tupelo.
Absolutely. Well, we appreciate you being here. So, tell us about this esports program at Ole Miss.
Yeah, so I guess the full story behind it is that it started out as a club, and we embraced I think the traditional SEC values and rivalries of Mississippi State, and that's how we first rose to sort of prominence and understanding of national attention with the Egg Bowl between us and Mississippi State, and from there we had a very generous donation and starting out through the Payne family. Mm-hmm. And from that point on, we really had the support of the faculty and professors at the university, and Dr. Wilkin and Dr. Amador and Dr. McClellan and Dr. Andre did a great job in championing the support of esports and trying to learn the understanding of a new space, right? Because esports is such a new thing to gain national attention and media mainstream attention. And so back in 2022, I took over the job here at Mississippi at Ole Miss, and when that happened, we started to sort of build a program that was founded on 3 pillars, is what I like to call them, is the competitive success of a school, the club and community success of the school. So we're helping not only just our competitive varsity athletes, but also our varsity, our club students, and developing and teaching everyone. And then last but not least, we work on the academic sort of side of things. So developing a minor, developing the young men and women who are attending the university to go out and do things that they're passionate about, to work in a career path that they're hopefully going to be happy with 10 years down the line.
What sort of jobs would those be?
Yeah, so I think the way I always describe esports is kind of if you look at the sports management field, right? There's a lot of overlap there. So it's not just all players, right? Yeah. So you have advertising marketers, you have media relations, you have support coaches and stuff like that. So a lot of work we do in terms of support staff is we work with students and professionals who are the same people that would be working on professional athletes. One of the great examples, I'll give him a shout out, is Noah. Noah's a junior at the university. He is in the IMC department. He wants to do media relations for sports. So he does all our content. So he works on, everything from our post-match announcements to our in-match announcements to going and taking photos of events when we travel. So last week, and we traveled up to Harrisburg, Pennsylvania to compete in HughFest, which is a gaming convention in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. And he took over 8,000 photos that now is going to be used for publication within the university for advertising for ourselves, but also for content that the school is going to produce. So I think that's a hugely important thing, right? Then there's obviously kind of the more unique roles in esports, right? So things, for example, like game development, that has a very close tie-in to other schools, and then opportunities as well in analytics and data and business management and driving all of that, because it is it's an over $1 billion industry at this point.
Wow.
Yeah.
So esports, I guess you could sort of describe it as kind of a digital ecosystem that somewhat replicates physical sports.
Yes, I would 100% think that that is a great analogy for how you would look at it.
And growing.
Yeah, and it's consistently growing. I think I was doing some reading last night of a class I teach, and then some grading some papers. And one of the things that they brought up in one of the papers is that by 2030, the expectation is the industry is going to be worth something like $1.3 billion a year.
Wow. So I know that you came from Long Island University. Mm-hmm. You created a program there. Is that
yep.
right?
So I was the first head coach there originally.
Okay.
Back in 2018, in the spring of 2018, when I graduated with my master's from St. John's University, with 7 students there that were just interested in gaming. Within the end of that first semester, the fall of 2018, it was up to 37, and then by the end of spring 2019, it was 141 students.
Wow.
And through that success, I was able to get promoted to the director of esports for that university. For those of you who don't know that university, there's 2 separate campuses that is involved in one athletic department. And I oversaw basically the expansion of the esports program just from the Long Island campus all the way out to the Brooklyn campus.
Okay.
And by the time I left there was over 400 students involved in our program.
So is this something we're starting to see established across the university community?
Yes, 100%. I think there's right now, the last numbers I saw was over 500, I think, clubs or programs that are involved in some level. And, you know, it goes from everywhere. I was talking to a rep here from ICC today, and we were talking about potentially hosting a show match. So one of the big differences, right, compared to traditional athletics, right, where like Ole Miss, you know, we play in the SEC. For us, we don't necessarily have a divisional structure. So we get the opportunity to play really anyone that wants to play us, right? So we'll take matches from, you know, community colleges all the way up to, you know, the best schools in the country for esports, right? And we're one of them, but like, you know, that doesn't mean that they're D1 schools. You know, like one of the best schools in the country is a college called Maryville in St. Louis, and they're a D2 school.
Interesting.
And so we play them, you know, 3 or 4 times a year in the playoffs or national championships almost standardly.
Is this something, John, that you think may develop into some sort of major or curriculum and perhaps a degree?
Yes. So one of the things that I really am interested in is the academic side of things. So we just started a minor here. So this is my 3rd semester teaching it. It's within the business school at Ole Miss. Kind of what I'm looking to do with it and sort of grow, and thanks to the faculty advisors that we have for my program, we're sort of marketing, is I want to be able to set up multiple minors within the school so that students are going to have the opportunity, if they want to work in esports, to develop multiple facets so they can move. So then, you know, I always say this, right? I'm 33 years old, so, and like the esports is a game for the young, right? So I know that like sometime I'm a director of an SEC school, right? How many people can say, right, they're a director at 33, right?
Good point.
And so like there's going to come a time where I'm going to probably need to transition out of this role into something new, and in esports there's not much more I could really do in the college sense if I want to stick in higher education. So how can I teach myself skills that are going to be transferable, whether it be to traditional athletics, right, and set myself up to take an athletics director's job somewhere else down the line, or like transfer skills into the professional scene. And because of that, like I try to apply that logic into traditional education. So how can we teach students using multiple, like esports as the main focal point, multiple skills that can transfer out in 3 or 4 years? Because it's a game, it's a industry for the young. There's a lot of people, there's a lot of jobs that are available right now that A, you can work from home from, B, you can do, you know, work for and make a career out of, but C, you can learn those skills to then take it to another traditional, more work field that you want to be in when you have the skills, right? Because I think that's one of the biggest things you always hear about when you hear the youth talking about, you know, I just graduated college and I can't find a job.
Yeah. Right.
I think, and so like, how can we, in esports, there's everyone looking for work always. Like you're looking for someone to help you out. And then how can we take that, right? And maybe you don't want to, or your son or daughter doesn't want to make a whole life out of video games, right? But how can we get their resume started so they can make that transition into a original field?
Got about a minute left. What about new technologies and how they're affecting the program and what you're doing there?
I mean, I think it's a great tie-in for this as well. I think, you know, the fiber cutting and fiber like that, you know, the University of Mississippi does a great job at supporting all fiber initiatives on the campus.
The campus is highly wired.
Oh, yeah, it's highly wired. It's every place has fiber.
Yeah.
And I think not just that, but I think, like, teaching young high school students how to do that like they're doing here now is great. And because of that, this new technology, every time that you see this, is growing constantly.
Yeah, it's incredible. So what about artificial intelligence and how it might affect it here?
I think one of the things I've always said about AI and stuff like that that's interesting is that we have the opportunity to use it to get better players and get better skills.
Yeah.
And then, like, obviously from that is always you have to be aware of, like, the negative downsides of AI as well.
Risks, absolutely. John, enjoy talking to you. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
John McDermott, Director of Esports Programs and Provost and Vice Chancellor for Academic Affairs at Ole Miss, has been our guest. We're coming right back, folks, with more from Tupelo, Mississippi for the Digital Innovation Conference.